Hello, welcome to this presentation on using PowerPoint Live to offer students a transcription in their own language of preference. This can be used with EL students to share a presentation built in PowerPoint. In this case, on the left side, I have the presentation up and I've already hit present live. And what it's giving me is a URL up at the top as well as a QR code reader. And on the right side of the screen, you'll see that same presentation. In this case, this is our student's view on the right. The student has used that link and launched it in their own web browser. So they are seeing the presentation, and the student has also chosen Spanish as their language of preference. So they're seeing this full transcript in Spanish as we work through the presentation. As the presenter and teacher, once I launch a PowerPoint live, I've got this button down here to show the slides. That's when I'm going to begin the presentation. And right now, this is the very first slide, and I'm going to turn it over to Ashley, who's going to talk a little bit about this tool and how she sees it being used in the classroom.
Perfect. Thanks for giving that intro. You can go ahead and click to the next slide. Okay, so I know that there are a lot of tools that we have been introduced to this year and a lot of things that we're asking everyone to be able to work through. One of the reasons why we wanted to demo and show you this additional tool is that it's really going to help to bridge access and equity for our EL and multilingual students. Without closed captioning or translation support in a live Zoom session, direct instruction can actually be very inaccessible to our EL students. Oftentimes they're having to translate live for themselves in their head, and so that limits their processing speed significantly. So an emerging EL student is still in the space where they're trying to determine what frequently occurring words and simple phrases mean. And so if they're trying to do that, the academic language is actually completely lost for them. Really, their skills are at listening to short conversations on familiar topics, and they can respond to simple questions, but anything else that we ask is above and beyond what they currently know and are able to do in English. A progressing EL student, while they have more skills than a student who's performing at an emerging level, they still aren't able to engage fully with the material that you're presenting. While they can analyze and critique arguments, it's usually only on familiar topics, things that they already know really well. And we all know that during a lecture style, we're introducing things that might be new. They also are able to determine the meaning of frequently occurring words. And they're at the point where they can identify the main topic and retell a key detail, but they still aren't able to access every single thing during a live presentation. It's a proficient student whose skill is at the fluent level, that they're actually able to construct meaning from an academic topic in a literary text and not just something that is familiar and already known to them. They're also able to analyze idioms, so words and phrases with meanings that aren't literal, and they're able to make inferences, summarize, and analyze things that they've heard. So what's really crucial for us to remember is that if we want quality student output, we have to provide accessible instructional input. And using live captions and translated access to those is really our best way to be able to do that. So magic is unfortunately not a thing that currently exists, but this tool that we have access to through PowerPoint Live is the next best thing to that. It will help you to make your direct instruction more accessible to your multilingual students. But as a reminder, there is literally no substitute for comprehensible input. It's really crucial that we do what we can to make our instruction accessible and then use captioning and translation support as an additional tool to help students feel successful in their classrooms.
So at this point, I just want to show you how to get to the tools that we're using to make this all happen. We mentioned that it is based out of PowerPoint, and it's actually the online version of PowerPoint. So we don't have to open the program. We're just going into our web browser, heading to office.com, or you can even launch this right out of your email. But you want to be logged into your Microsoft account, so office.com or in your email. You'll click on the little waffle menu there, which will show you all of your Microsoft web apps, and you want to choose PowerPoint. That'll bring you into the O365 version of PowerPoint. So again, this should look a lot like the desktop version that you're used to, but it's this online web version of PowerPoint. You'll see when you open a new PowerPoint presentation, which is what we're seeing here, there's a button in the top right, and it has that slideshow looking, presentation screen. Usually we're used to clicking on that button and it launches us into our presentation mode. It would bring us right into play from beginning. So instead of clicking right on the screen, we're going to click on that arrow. The arrow is going to give us 3 options, and we want to choose present live. And that's how we'll get to our chooser to set this up. So once we click present live, it'll bring us to this launch screen. And the intention here would be, you're doing the presentation, you show this to your students, your audience, what have you, and you can see that it's giving you and them information about how to join. It gives you a URL that can be copied via that link button. You could put that in a Zoom chat. You could put it up on your Schoology page. However you want to get that to your students. They can also launch it from that QR code on a mobile device. There's some other pieces of information here, how many people have already joined the session, and also down at the bottom, who is able to join it. So you can change that in PowerPoint, but that's a good one if you're giving a presentation to outside audiences to adjust that. But once people have gotten their chance to get the QR code, you've served out the link, then you can go ahead and click show slides and get back to your presentation. So then this last component here we have is just about, okay, if you're a student, how do you do what we're doing here? So that you can, like we said at the beginning of the presentation, on the left-hand side of the screen, we're seeing the presenter, the teacher's view, and on the right, we're seeing the student's view. But if a student wants to set this up, like, okay, the teacher's going to be, reading from a book in Zoom, or showing us something in Schoology, or showing us something in Desmos, how do I get that translated window to live right next to my Zoom window? In the slide deck that accompanies this presentation, you'll find 3 different videos that you can share with your students that are based on the device type that they're using, that would show them how to move their windows around to create this, split screen view.
And then here is what it would look like with a smart device. In this case, I've got a Apple phone, and I've used that QR code reader, and I'm just turning on the camera for my smartphone. I'm holding it up to that QR code, letting it scan it, and it's giving me that pop-up up at the top to open this PowerPoint presentation in Safari on my smartphone. So in that second shot, it's launched the Safari window, and I'm in that kind of waiting screen for the presentation to start. And down at the bottom, you'll see that word English. That's where I can select my language. So I'd click on that English word, and the menu of languages would pop up. There's quite a few languages to choose from, whether you're on a smartphone or on your computer viewing this. There's quite a few languages that are available to you. I've scrolled down and selected Spanish. And now as the speaker starts to say hello and welcome, I'm starting to see that transcript come over in Spanish on my smartphone as I'm viewing the presentation, much like I am here on my computer through this presentation that we've been giving. All right, thank you.